Hi. For me, this is a story of bringing something more than just practical sense into our everyday life, of bringing some more beauty or some more extra sense. But let me start from the beginning. As you probably know, Russia is a very large country and it takes more than 10 hours by plane to cross it from one side to another. And what's still a problem that the development of visual culture, of graphic design, of type design is not uniform for different regions of the country. For example, some 15 years ago, if any person wanted to become a good graphic designer or type designer, that person should move to Moscow. There was no other way. And now I'm very happy to see that the local communities, the local design communities are growing and are making interesting things. But still, it is not uniform, and for example, only 5 cities by now have their own typefaces for navigation or communication purposes, and one is in progress as far as I know. And we're now going to talk about one of those 5 cities. This is Belgrade. The story begins here in the graphic design studio M207 in Belgrade. They contacted me in maybe late January this year and asked, how much does it cost to develop a typeface? I asked, what typeface? They told me that they were designing a new system of wall plates, of address plates for their city, and it's in contact with local authorities and so on. And this is the first sketch using PT Sans. And some of the local authorities told them that maybe we need our own font to express the city spirit. And they were interested very much in the process, and they came to us. It was quite a quick project for me. It took about 3 months, and we officially started in February, and we officially ended the process in May. So we needed a navigation font with local spirit. And what's the local spirit for Belgorod? What is Belgrade like? It is a province center, a center of Belgorod Oblast. The population of the city is about 400,000 people, and it has a very long and dramatic history. The city was 3 times totally destroyed, and their most recent time was during the Second World War. It was destroyed and it was rebuilt from scratch. There's maybe just 1 or 2 buildings older than 1940s, and all the city is more or less new. It was rebuilt in 1940s, 1950s and 1960s. And what does it mean for us? I'll show a picture a little bit later, but as a navigation font, it should be very readable because the streets are very wide, especially in the city center. So first we needed to design a navigation font, which means readable, large, maybe some demi-bold, generous letter spacing, quite usual things. But it also had to bear the city spirit. So this is the center of Belgrade, and some other places. It's the overview of the city. You can see that there are really no old buildings. All of them are quite new. And these are some places of interest. And it's a very clean city. It's one of the cleanest cities in Russia. And what I have learned from the photos and what I have learned from talks with those guys from the design studio, that they really want to make something beautiful. It's clean city, it's quite new city, there are no historical buildings, but they really want to bring some more history and some more beauty into their life. And the other point was that it's very close to the Ukrainian border, and Ukraine has very strong calligraphic traditions, and they wanted to reflect some Ukrainian, some Southern Russian, and to bring some calligraphy into the font. So they had desire for history and desire for beauty. And the first thing that I thought of as a reference was Coliseum by Gerard Unger, but of course Rome is one story and Belgrade is not Rome, pitifully, because sometimes it has quite patchy urban development, and you can see on the photo that buildings of 40s, of 50s and of 70s are together, and also they have quite large areas of small private houses, and the typeface had to look more or less okay everywhere. So it shouldn't be tied to any certain architecture style. Then I thought about the typefaces for very small sizes and for readability, for hard conditions, like Bell Centennial or Ladislas Mandel's typefaces, or some newer things like minuscule, for example. And I thought about minuscule working also in large point sizes. And when thinking of calligraphy, I think it's better to refer to classical broad nib writing rather than to any swashy calligraphy. So, what I wanted to do to reflect what they wanted to have. The typeface had to have the proportions of a navigation typeface, to have a hint of a classical Roman capitals, to have some calligraphy inside it, and not to be tied to specific architectural styles. And my personal challenge was to make the designers who create the address plates to use lowercase, not uppercase, because most address plates I have seen use uppercase, and I don't think it's really good because lowercase is more readable in most cases. So that's what I came to. It's an Incise, a typeface with a slight hint of the serifs and some Roman monumental proportions. These were the first sketches, and I started with the idea of a sans serif with a little bit thickening strokes, but then I came to an Incise, and this was the first digital version, and it came to the end almost untouched. And what's great about this project, that we tried to put the typeface in more or less real conditions as soon as possible. So when about 10 letters were ready, we started to put the typeface into the layout, like here, and we were deciding what length of the centers should be, not to touch the word street, and so on. And as for me, I tested it sticking the papers to the fridge and walking as far as possible. And Belgrade guys who were maybe did it in a more beautiful way. They sticked it to a white wall and also walked as far as possible. And that's what we have. It's Cyrillic and Latin, because you can't make a typeface without Latin for now. And it has quite humanist shapes, and it has quite monumental proportions of the uppercase, and it has quite much calligraphy in the lowercase, the slanted axis of the round letters, the terminals, which are quite close related to calligraphy, and slightly squarish spaces of round letters to bring more white into the counters and to make it look larger and more readable. And this is the size of the typeface compared to Arial, which is very frequently used in Russia for navigation purposes. And you can see how larger it looks. And also about the proportions, I tried to make them as monumental as possible without losing the overall typeface spirit. And I tried to test it on the Senatus Populus Square Romanus and translated it into Russian, and it was the Maria and people of Belgorod. And this is the lowercase. It's not so monumental, but more humanist. And what I did to make the designers design their plates with lowercase, I just made it quite compact. And if we compare it to the uppercase setting, we see that the word is much shorter, set in lowercase, of course. And this is a typical street name in Russia. I think every city has a street with that name. And these are other characters. What is important about this typeface? We decided to make arrows just from the beginning of the project, to make the index letters for complex house numbers, and to make two sets of numerals, of figures, to use the wider version for normal plates of the numbers of the houses, and the narrower version for fractional numbers like 13/40 or something like that. And it really saves quite a lot of space. They first asked me to design sort of fractional numbers, but I just showed that the condensed will take more or less the same space but look larger and be more readable. So we came to the squarish, narrower numerals and some unexpected local spirit in the ampersand. So while I was finishing the typeface, they were finishing their concept of the wall plates, and they did 3 versions of them. This is the smallest one for small private houses. It's very cheap, it costs less than 10 euros, and they can really order it and have it on the house. The plates are made from acrylic. They wanted to make the plates for central parts of the city from metal, but pitifully it was a bit expensive, so they came to acrylic, from the most modest to a light box for central streets. This is the typical plate, where the street name and the house number are separated. And this is the light box for central streets, which is together with arrows, with beautiful house numbers and so on. So it's not mock-up, it's a real photo of how they did it. They experimented a lot with different kinds of acrylic to get the better result. And when they finished with the design of the plates, they thought that they can use the typeface also for the souvenirs and for a new touristic brand of the city. So this is a new touristic logo of Belgrade, to Belgrade or not to be, with the coordinates of the city, and they have printed t-shirts already. And perhaps that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Alexandra. So nice to finally see you. I've been admiring your work from far for a very long time. So it's great to finally see you. Thank you for the great presentation. And sorry, I called it Incise. It's my UK English forcing me to pronounce things.
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe Incise, not Incise. My English is also not UK.
All right. Awesome. If anybody has questions for Alexandra, please go ahead and I have, yeah. With any project that concerns government intervention, was the brief something that you developed or helped the government or the authorities develop, or was it something that was given to you? And did it creep as you kept designing? Did it increase in scope?
In fact, I did not communicate with the authorities, because I communicated with the design studio, and they presented it to the head of the city and to other guys, to the chief architect and so on. And I was very glad that they really had almost no comments like, please do something in different way and so on. So they just asked about several letters if it seemed to them that maybe it was something not just what they expected, and there were really very few comments, and it came to the end almost untouched.
That's kind of a very enviable position to be in, I would say. That's a perfect kind of
it was
relationship with
really
the client.
perfect kind of a project. I see the question. At the moment, there are nameplates and products for tourists. Are there any more plans to apply the typeface in the city? for now, I don't know. I think they are going to extend their touristic products. I know that they printed a small paper map of the city with kind of interesting places on it, and they used the font on the cover of the map. I asked, why didn't you use it for the street names and so on? They didn't answer anything, and I think they are going to use it. But you saw the proportions. They are not typical for example, for a text face, and I think we should extend the family, maybe not by commission, but on our own, and make it appear in the shop. So for now, officially, it's a strange situation because they could not afford the exclusive rights for the typeface. So for now, that design studio uses it, but it is sort of not exclusive, but we still don't sell it because I think it's too few characters to sell it as a whole typeface, and I'd prefer to add some styles. So for now, it's not free. For now, it's not free. I think if the authorities and if the local architects and so on will decide that it should be available for all the citizens, they just have to buy the exclusive rights, and then they'll make it available. We have cases like this, but for now, it's neither there nor ours nor somebody else's. It's just I can say it's just in progress.
Yeah, and I just want to add for posterity that this is Alexandra is answering a question. Is this typeface also available for citizens?
Oh yeah,
I'm just asking this because it's getting recorded and they can't see the question. So yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Alexandra. And I hope to take, if and when I visit the city, I hope to take pictures with the signage and then send them to you on Twitter or something. Pose with them and send them to you. Yeah, thank you so much. We have a great hangout room going on. If you'd like to move there and maybe people want to ask you other questions, maybe not related to this presentation, then you can do so there. But thanks again for everyone joining us. Have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And I'll see you.
Have a morning. Thank you.
Have a great morning. And we'll see you in the next session. Bye.
Okay, bye.